Denzel Washington plays Robert McCall, a retired Special Forces agent leading a peaceful life in the film. McCall is battling a bout of superheroism, which he succumbs to throughout the film, in part because he chose to live in the most underprivileged, crime-ridden district of Boston that he could locate. When McCall busts a sex trafficking ring that had its major core in the city early in the movie, the Russian mafia becomes interested. The Equalizer has only one substantial issue, which is terrible. It has many episodes. It has the impression of viewing an entire season of a television show rather than a movie. Early on, they introduce McCall and the main plot with the Russian mob. Later on, they include him in a few side stories where he trains a coworker to be a security guard, beats up some corrupt officers who appear to be unrelated to the main plot, and then, finally, we return to the main plot. It doesn't help that Teddy, Martin Sonkas, the mob enforcer, is seen in between Teddy's curiously erotic and bizarrely photographed exploits. Sherlock on the BBC is the most suitable comparison for this design. Each series' initial episode features an adventure that makes reference to the villain from the previous episode, followed by an adventure that doesn't, and, ultimately, an adventure that actually features the villain. Although it does get stale after a while, this structure isn't necessarily bad for a show, but in a movie it tends to feel like a waste of time. The Equalizer, which runs for 131 minutes, cannot afford to feel like it is squandering time. Writer Richard Wenk should have looked to 2011's Drive for structure. After a short sequence establishing the main character, the film follows one storyline to the end. Wasting no time on side arcs, the character is obviously set up for or following around the enforcer with no real character traits, and never losing track of characters once they are established. Chloe Grace Moritz is the second most recognizable actor in The Equalizer, and she sort of vanishes for the main body of the film. After that, the movie is pretty much exactly what the audience wants to see, for better or worse. The Equalizer is a very mid-tens movie, featuring a lot of common problems and conceits with contemporary action movies that can't really be called problems because almost every movie these days deals with them to some extent. Whatever Liam Neeson has appears to have spread to Washington. He's a fantastic actor with nearly 40 years of film experience. He has portrayed Malcolm X, Frank Lucas, and Marcus Brutus on Broadway, but it seems that he would prefer to portray Steven Seagal. Allow you to see what's going on. This was a really clever device when it first appeared in Batman Begins, a film that wasn't really an action movie and didn't use it in all of its scenes. However, 10 years later, it's something that every action movie uses to be hip, and it's stupid and annoying and really defeats the purpose of watching an action movie. Another thing that fans have to put up with these days is the constant return to Teddy. Too many movies attempt to establish a parallel tandem when it simply isn't necessary. In this case, the audience simply ends up wondering where Denzel Washington is during the first half of the film and when his activities will start to again relate to the Russian man. A skilled main actor stars in the by-the-numbers action film The Equalizer. It's a passable viewing, but it could have been worse. You watch movies like these to pass the time.